have to have a certain background, like knowing Quran very well, knowing Arabic language very well, knowing Hadith very well. It's not just me coming, I know something about Islam and something about Reformation, let me propose something new. No, it doesn't work in that way. Yeah, they have to have Islamic knowledge, but at the same time, like, it's not just, you know, them talk about Islam. It should be a union, like...
A lot of these scientists went to Al-Azhar. You know, you've heard about that,
yeah,
right?
My grandfather studied in
Really?
Al-Azhar.
Like
He was
that?
a sheikh.
Really? That's so interesting. That's so cool. A lot of these people went to Al-Azhar, and they have an extensive knowledge of the Quran, right? Unfortunately, not a lot of them might have degrees in physics or degrees in, you know what I'm talking about? But they do...
In social sciences and, yeah.
Exactly. So they derive all their... They do have a knowledge about the basic fundamentals of physics, and when you read their writings, it makes perfect sense to a scientific scholar, you know, to a physicist or a professor of physics. You know, their writings do make a lot of sense. So, but the only thing that's not, hopefully this, like a conference like this one, would bring these people into the light, and I think Tariq Ramadan is one of these people, right? But like Tariq Ramadan would discuss culture and science more than anything, but people like Yusuf Zidane and check, he has his own website. People that he worked with the Arab League, he worked with the UNESCO. People like Yusuf Zidane and Saad and Ramadan Zaghloul, well, I forgot what's his name, the man I was talking, Zaghloul al-Nagar. They talk about because the thing is, they relate the scientific facts in the Quran into rejuvenating, reincarnating the faith in Islam, as opposed, like, in not in contest with the other Abrahamic religions, but do you know what is the word? I don't know what's called in Arabic. The privilege, al-afdaliyya lil-Islam, because it has all these scientific facts. It's used, not only did it use the miracles, not only did it use to see the historic events, but like I said, the oval shape of the earth, the partition of the seas, the planets. Zaghloul al-Nagar and Yusuf Zidane talk about this. There are a lot of things in the Quran, because like I said, the Quran has been written by God subhanahu wa ta'ala for every place and time. And there are a lot of meanings in the Quran that are still not, no one knows. For example, alif, qaf, the letters, no one knows what they stand for. So back then, the language of the Quran by itself is a miracle. That's like, and the fact that Muhammad didn't read or write, and the fact that he memorized all these things, and the language was so extensive. And for example, the ayat where it describes that the shape of the earth is oval, or the ayat that describe, remember the ayah you just
بينهما برزخ لا يبغيان.
Exactly. The linguistics and the language used in the Quran, our understanding of it evolved over time. So a lot of people might not have, until today, we don't understand what these letters in the Quran, the single letters mentioned in the Quran, until now, we don't know what they mean, but perhaps people like in future generations or future times might know. Like people in previous times didn't know what it meant, what the verses that described the oval shape, or the fetus or the evolution of a fetus inside a woman. Maybe perhaps in future generations we're going to know what the other things that we don't know. So we have all these hidden meanings within the Quran. Yeah.
I agree with you, but it's a concern that sometimes people overly looks at Quran as if it's a book of science, or like in Turkey there is a man, it always talks about this will happen in this year, because in Quran it's in here the abjad, the calculation of abjad, it says that, and it says about Quran. Allah Azza wa Jalla says in Quran why He sent Quran to us. He is a remembrance for people. It's a zikr for us to be better people, for us to remember Him, and it's to guide our lives. It's not Quran is not a book of science or a book of future telling or a book, things like that. Of course, it's a book written by Allah. Of course, it's full of miracles, and of course, there might be hidden things in Quran, but it's not the main reason why we read Quran.
Of course
And
not.
I think sometimes it's hard. Yeah, I totally agree with you, but just to highlight that, because sometimes people go extensively looking at that aspects and they forget the main reason why we have Quran.
I think personally, I'm sorry to say something. I think personally the main reasons why would we pay a lot of attention to the scientific facts in the Quran, because it's just another way. It's just another reason for us to believe. It's a dawah. It's another form of dawah for people to believe in Islam and believe in the unification of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
But sometimes, as Sadaf says, science changes. People say that this verse refers to that scientific rule. But what if after 50 years this verse did not really mean that scientific rule, and maybe
These
people
are
know?
scientific facts.
Yeah, but
like the shape of the earth.
Yeah, the shape
It
of the
can't
earth
change.
is yes, but
Or the partition of the
there are
seas.
many things which is not fact and rules in science. In science, almost 70-80% is still hypothesis, and then the theories can collapse, and many things like. That's the thing. If it's not 100% sure to say that this verse hints that, this verse hints that, as Sadaf says, science changes all the time. We don't know. Maybe a new Einstein will come, and many things will change. Yeah.
I just wanted to briefly comment on Salma's remark that with time we might come and kind of find out these hidden meanings in Quran, because there is a verse in Quran that says it has both clear and ambiguous verses, and you won't understand the ambiguous verses. Like that's what the Quran says. So what is clear to you, follow that, and don't think too much about the ambiguous ones. Let's say about the letters that you told us, Alif Lam Mim. There's no way people are going to come up with a solid interpretation of those letters, and if they do, they're going to differ. Now the problem, like what as the title of the conference is Belief in Dialogue, I really believe in dialogue. I always think that because we talk about the modern scholars of Islam who tend to look at Islam from a scientific perspective and they try to explain it, and then with the traditionalists who stick to what was interpreted in, like you said, 10th century, and you have to follow that. I think that these two groups of scholars, they need to come together and they talk. It's because the thing is, like, as soon as, let's say, if we take a name, I won't name anyone, but if we take a name and we tell, try to discuss them with traditional scholars, just by looking at the name, they'll reject them. Like, forget about what they're saying, forget about the ideas. He's a modernist Muslim and he's not one of us, so we don't even need to study him. Like, that's the attitude. And it's the same the other way around. Like, if you go to a modernist and you give them traditional scholar, they're going, oh, he's an extremist. He has these extremist. Okay, why do you judge people by these generalizations? Why not study them? Why not engage in a dialogue and kind of sort of, okay, even if you can't sort out your differences, but at least listen to the other person. Why do you put yourself in two groups and you kind of reject everyone else because you belong to this certain group? So I think, yeah, it goes back to belief and dialogue.
Yeah, I want to comment on Sadaf's remark. Because no, it was a great remark. The thing is, like, the reformists, okay, they are aware that Islam should adapt today and also needs reforms. But sometimes they really lack the authenticity of the tradition, the authenticity of the texts. They are not really well aware of, well educated about the texts. But on the other side there, we have people who are very well educated in the text, but they lack the visionary or the innovative approach towards today and to the world. As Sadaf said, if we would make an hygiene of them merge together and then separate, this would be great, like, you know, because we need both. But sometimes, if you look at two separate, it's not satisfacting. But if they are together, then this is what we need as the Muslims in terms of religion and science and in terms of